Have you ever laid awake at night, replaying conversations in your head, wondering why someone didn't call, didn't text, didn't care the way you did? Be honest. How much time have you lost trying to understand people who never tried to understand you? How much energy have you poured into proving your worth to someone who had already decided not to see it? That silent pain, it doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people you expected more from, the ones you showed up for, but who never showed up for you. And the hardest part, they've already moved on. They're living their lives while you're stuck carrying the weight of their indifference. But today something changes, because this is not just another message. This is a wake-up call, a moment where you finally realize that the problem was never your value. It was where you were investing it. So if you've ever felt ignored, overlooked, or emotionally drained by people who didn't care, stay with me. Because by the end of this, you won't just feel different. You'll think different, move different, and most importantly, you'll finally take your power back. Your energy is your most valuable and limited resource, yet most people spend it carelessly on those who give nothing in return. Think of it as a form of currency, more precious than money because once it's spent, it cannot be earned back in the same form. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you hold on to, and every moment you invest in someone is a transaction. When you constantly think about people who don't care about you, you are unknowingly making deposits into an empty account. There is no return, no growth, no appreciation, only depletion. This is where many individuals lose their power, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because their mental and emotional energy is being drained by the wrong investments. When you begin to understand energy as currency, your perspective shifts. You become more intentional about where you place your focus. You start to question whether certain people, conversations, or situations deserve access to your thoughts and emotions. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves that level of access. Some people only take your time, your attention, your peace, without ever adding value to your life. And the longer you allow this pattern, the more exhausted and disconnected you become from your own purpose. Protecting your energy requires awareness and discipline. It means recognizing when your mind drifts toward individuals who have already shown disinterest or disregard, and consciously pulling it back. It means refusing to replay conversations, imagine different outcomes, or seek validation from those who have made it clear they cannot provide it. This is not about becoming cold or indifferent. It is about becoming selective and self-respecting. Your energy should be invested in growth, in meaningful relationships, and in goals that move your life forward. When you stop spending your energy on people who don't invest in you, something powerful happens. You regain clarity. Your mind becomes less cluttered, your emotions more stable, and your actions more focused. You begin to notice opportunities you once overlooked, and you have the strength to pursue them. Your confidence grows, not because others validate you, but because you are no longer draining yourself trying to earn their attention. Instead of chasing empty connections, you start building a life that naturally attracts the right people, those who reciprocate your energy, respect your presence, and contribute to your journey. Indifference is often misunderstood because people expect rejection to come with words, explanations, or clear closure. But in reality, the most honest response you will ever receive from someone is their lack of effort. When a person does not call, does not show up, does not respond, and does not make time, they are communicating something far more powerful than any spoken excuse. Indifference is not confusion, it is clarity in its rawest form. The problem is that many people refuse to accept this kind of answer because it does not satisfy the ego. The mind begins to create stories, searching for hidden meanings, justifications, or temporary circumstances, hoping that the silence means something else. But silence, when consistent, is a decision. It is a quiet declaration of where you stand in someone's priorities. When you learn to interpret indifference correctly, you free yourself from unnecessary emotional struggle. You stop chasing explanations that will never come and stop holding on to hope that is not being supported by action. Instead of asking, why are they acting like this, you begin to understand that their actions are the answer. This shift in perspective is powerful because it removes the illusion that you are waiting for something to change. It places you back in control, allowing you to make decisions based on reality rather than assumptions. Indifference also reveals an important truth about human behavior. People invest in what matters to them. No one is too busy to show care for something they genuinely value. Time, attention, and effort are always allocated according to priority. When someone consistently withholds these from you, it is not because they are incapable, it is because they have chosen not to. Accepting this can be uncomfortable, but it is also liberating because it eliminates false expectations. You are no longer trapped in a cycle of overthinking, trying to decode mixed signals or interpret minimal effort as hidden interest. By recognizing indifference as an answer, you begin to redirect your focus. You stop pouring your energy into people who have already given you their response through inaction. You become more grounded, less reactive, and more aligned with your own self-worth. Instead of chasing attention, you start respecting your time and emotional space. You understand that clarity does not always come in the form you prefer, but it is always present if you are willing to see it. This awareness strengthens your ability to detach from situations that do not serve you and opens the door for healthier, more reciprocal connections to enter your life. Self-worth is one of the most powerful forces that shapes how you think, act, and interact with the world, yet many people unknowingly place it in the hands of others. They wait for approval, recognition, or validation to feel valuable, as if their worth must be confirmed externally before it becomes real. This creates a fragile foundation because anything that depends on other people can be taken away, ignored, or withheld at any moment. When your sense of value is tied to how others treat you, you become emotionally dependent on their opinions, reactions, and attention. If they praise you, you feel elevated. If they ignore you, you feel diminished. This constant fluctuation leads to insecurity, overthinking, and a continuous need to prove yourself. True self-worth, however, must be generated from within. It is built on your own standards, your own beliefs, and your own understanding of who you are, independent of outside influence. This does not mean you reject feedback or disconnect from relationships, but it means your core sense of value is not determined by them. You recognize your strengths, your growth, your effort, and your resilience, even when no one else acknowledges it. You become the source of your own validation, which creates a level of emotional stability that cannot be easily shaken. When self-worth is self-generated, your behavior changes naturally. You stop chasing people who do not appreciate you because your value is no longer dependent on their recognition. You no longer feel the need to over-explain yourself, to prove your importance, or to compete for attention. Instead, you move with quiet confidence, knowing that your worth exists whether others see it or not. This confidence is not loud or arrogant, it is steady and grounded. It allows you to walk away from situations that do not align with your standards without feeling like you are losing something. Building this kind of self-worth requires conscious effort and consistency. It involves paying attention to your inner dialogue, challenging negative beliefs, and reinforcing a mindset that supports your value. It also means setting boundaries and making decisions that reflect self-respect. Every time you choose not to tolerate disrespect, not to chase indifference, and not to settle for less than you deserve, you strengthen your internal sense of worth. Over time, this internal foundation transforms how others perceive and treat you. People are naturally drawn to those who carry themselves with self-respect and clarity. You begin to attract healthier relationships, not because you are seeking validation, but because your energy reflects stability and confidence. Instead of depending on others to feel complete, you operate from a place of wholeness, where your worth is constant, self-defined, and no longer influenced by who chooses to notice it. Emotional discipline is one of the most underestimated forms of power because it operates quietly, without external display, yet it determines the direction of your entire life. It is the ability to control your reactions instead of being controlled by them, to respond with intention rather than impulse. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions, reacting instantly to situations, words, or behaviors without pause. When someone ignores them, they feel hurt and spiral into overthinking. When someone disrespects them, they react with anger or desperation to prove themselves. In these moments, their emotions take control, and their actions are driven by temporary feelings rather than long-term wisdom. Without emotional discipline, you become predictable and easy to influence. Anyone who knows how to trigger you can control your mood, your focus, and even your decisions. A single message, a delayed response, or a dismissive attitude can shift your entire mental state. This lack of control drains your energy and keeps you stuck in cycles of stress and reaction. You end up giving power to people who have done nothing to earn it simply because you allow your emotions to dictate your behavior. Emotional discipline changes this dynamic completely. It creates a space between what happens and how you respond. In that space lies your power. Instead of reacting immediately, you observe. Instead of assuming, you analyze. Instead of letting your feelings explode outward, you process them internally with awareness. This does not mean you suppress your emotions or pretend they do not exist. It means you acknowledge them without allowing them to control you. You feel the emotion, but you choose the response. When you develop this level of control, situations that once disturbed you lose their intensity. Someone's indifference no longer shakes your confidence because you are not relying on their behavior to define your worth. Disrespect no longer provokes impulsive reactions because you understand that your response reflects your character, not theirs. You become calm in situations where others would be reactive, and that calmness becomes your strength. Practicing emotional discipline requires consistency and self-awareness. It begins with noticing your triggers, understanding your patterns, and questioning your automatic reactions. Instead of acting on impulse, you learn to pause, to breathe, and to think. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to remain steady under pressure. You stop making decisions you later regret, and you start acting in alignment with your long-term goals rather than temporary emotions. As this discipline grows, so does your sense of control over your life. You are no longer pulled in different directions by every emotional wave. You move with intention, clarity, and RPOs, maintaining focus even in challenging situations. Your reactions become deliberate, your mindset becomes stronger, and your presence becomes more composed, allowing you to navigate life with a level of control that most people never achieve. Detachment is often misunderstood as coldness or a lack of care, but in reality, it is a powerful form of self-preservation and growth. To detach does not mean you stop valuing people or experiences. It means you stop allowing them to control your emotional state and define your direction. Many people remain stuck in draining situations because they are emotionally attached to outcomes, expectations, or versions of people that no longer exist. They hold on, hoping things will change, replaying memories, and investing energy into something that is no longer aligned with their growth. This attachment keeps them anchored in the past, unable to move forward with clarity and strength. When you begin to detach, you create space within your mind and your life. You release the need to control how others behave, how they feel about you, or whether they choose to stay. You accept reality as it is, not as you wish it to be. This acceptance is not weakness, it is awareness. It allows you to see situations clearly, without the distortion of emotional dependency. Instead of forcing connections or clinging to what drains you, you step back and evaluate whether something truly deserves your time and energy. Detachment also strengthens your independence. When you are no longer emotionally tied to specific outcomes, you become more flexible and resilient. Rejection, indifference, or change no longer destabilizes you because your sense of stability comes from within. You are not shaken by who leaves or who stays because your focus shifts from external validation to internal growth. This mindset empowers you to make decisions based on what is right for you rather than what feels comfortable or familiar. As you detach from what drains you, you naturally begin to elevate. Your energy is no longer scattered across people and situations that offer no return. Instead, it is redirected toward your goals, your development, and your well-being. You gain mental clarity because you are no longer consumed by overthinking or emotional conflict. Your focus sharpens, your confidence increases, and your actions become more intentional. This shift allows you to operate at a higher level where your decisions are guided by purpose rather than attachment. Detachment also improves the quality of your relationships. When you are not clinging or seeking constant reassurance, you interact from a place of balance and self-respect. You allow people to show up as they are, without trying to force them into your expectations. This creates healthier dynamics, where connections are based on mutual effort rather than dependency. Those who genuinely value you will remain, and those who do not will naturally fade away without disrupting your peace. Through detachment, you reclaim your power. You stop chasing what diminishes you and start aligning with what strengthens you. You rise above emotional chaos and step into a state of clarity and control where your growth is no longer limited by what you refuse to let go of. Focusing on purpose rather than approval is one of the most transformative shifts a person can make because it redirects your entire life from external validation to internal direction. Many people unknowingly live their lives based on how others perceive them. They make decisions to be liked, adjust their behavior to fit expectations, and measure their success by the amount of recognition they receive. This constant need for approval becomes a trap because it places your sense of progress in the hands of people who are not responsible for your growth. As a result, you hesitate, overthink, and hold yourself back, afraid of judgment or rejection. When your focus is on approval, your path becomes inconsistent. You start something with excitement, but the moment you feel unnoticed or criticized, your motivation weakens. You question your choices not because they are wrong, but because they are not being validated. This creates a cycle where your actions are guided by reactions instead of purpose. You begin to chase applause instead of progress, and in doing so, you lose clarity about what truly matters to you. Purpose, on the other hand, is internal and stable. It is driven by your vision, your goals, and your understanding of what you want to build in your life. When you operate with purpose, your actions are not dependent on whether others approve or even notice. You move forward because you know where you are going, not because someone is watching. This creates a powerful sense of direction that keeps you consistent even when the journey becomes difficult or lonely. Shifting your focus to purpose requires a change in mindset. You must begin to value progress over praise and growth over recognition. This means doing the work even when no one is clapping, staying committed even when no one is encouraging you, and believing in your path even when others do not understand it. It also means accepting that not everyone will agree with your choices and being comfortable with that reality. Approval becomes irrelevant when your purpose is clear. As you strengthen this focus, your confidence begins to grow from within. You no longer need constant reassurance because your sense of direction provides its own validation. Your decisions become more aligned with your long-term vision, and your energy is no longer wasted trying to impress others. Instead, it is invested in building something meaningful. Over time, this shift changes how others perceive you as well. People are naturally drawn to those who are focused and driven by purpose because it reflects clarity and strength. Ironically, the approval you once chased begins to appear not because you sought it, but because you no longer needed it. Your life becomes more intentional, your progress more consistent, and your mindset more resilient, allowing you to move forward with unwavering focus regardless of who is watching or what they think. In the end, your life is not defined by who stayed, who left, or who chose not to care. It is defined by what you chose to become despite it all. Every moment you spent worrying about people who didn't value you was a moment your potential waited patiently for your attention. And now you have a choice. You can go back to chasing approval, or you can step forward into purpose. You can continue investing your energy where it is ignored, or you can build a life where your energy creates impact, growth, and fulfillment. Remember this: the moment you stop stressing about people who don't care is the moment you start becoming the person who no longer needs them to. That is where your power lives. That is where your confidence is built. And that is where your true journey begins. Walk away from what drains you with strength, not regret. Focus on what builds you with discipline, not distraction. And carry yourself with the mindset that your value is not up for negotiation. It is already established. I wish you strength in your decisions, clarity in your vision, and courage in your actions. Good luck on your journey toward becoming the strongest version of yourself, and thank you for taking the time to invest in your growth today. If this message spoke to you, make sure to follow Mind Wealth Theory for more powerful insights that will sharpen your mindset, strengthen your discipline, and elevate your life to the next level.